This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Sai, Agotyar. So the name of the Shiur is Rosh Hashanah in Uman in Cedarhurst. So what does that mean? It means like this. There are tens of thousands of Yidden that every year they travel to the Ukraine, to Uman, and they daven in Uman. I am not commenting on that practice this morning. I'm just pointing out one particular thing. These Yidden that go there, what do they gain out of going there? They spend $1,000 on the airfare. But once you're spending money on traveling somewhere to daven, you better get your money's worth. So you better daven your heart out. So you have tens of thousands of Yidden standing on tables, standing on chairs, crying, screaming with no inhibitions. They're not embarrassed, just to cry out sincerely, Lavinu Shema Shemayim. That's a very beautiful thing. I'm not commenting on whether you should go, you shouldn't go. Be happy to tell you my feelings a different time. But the point is that there are Yidden that go and they just scream out the whole day, and they're not embarrassed and they're not ashamed. They let out their emotions. They wear their emotions on their sleeves. So why can't you do that here? Why can't you daven here and cry your heart out and scream your heart out and wear your emotions on your sleeves? Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed to scream out Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah. If somebody thinks you're crazy, I guarantee you he has bigger issues than you might. And that's just the first inyan, that there are Yidden that travel thousands of miles to daven better, just to daven better, to have a better tefillah. So even if you're not traveling anywhere, and you're not going anywhere, and you're davening in your backyard, and you're saving the $3,000 on the food and the travel, you could also daven like that. Okay, so that was just a scam to get you to come to the Shiur. So I want to share with you one thought that Rav Ruderman would say over from the Noda B'Yehuda, and it's also in Rav Chaim Falagi, about the koyach of the Tefillos of Rosh Hashanah. And I once saw it in an Achroin. I think it was the Chachmas Vanoyach, and it's a very simple thought. It's in Perek Yud Gimel of the Sefer Moyed L'Chol Chai. Moyed L'Chol Chai was written by Rav Chaim Falagi, one of the great Sephardic giants. But as I mentioned, this idea is mentioned by the Noda B'Yehuda as well, and I believe the Chachmas Vanoyach on Masechta Brachos. Says Rav Chaim Falagi, Kasav b'likutei yikarim u'v'sefer avoda. I need to arouse you and inspire you about the Tefillos of the Yom Naram. Truth is, most people daven it with a lot of inspiration. People daven with kavanah on Yom Naram. People, take it seriously. The thing is, the trouble is, most people have more kavanah for the new tefillos that are added for Yom Naram, the piyutim, Hashem Malach, all the other hoysafos, avalat tefillah hastura, but the regular tefillah like Psukei de Zimra and Kriya Shema and the Shemona Esrei, that they run through. It's just the opposite. That's not the ikar. The ikar is not Unasana Toikef. Oh, Unasana Toikef. It's a piyut. Unasana Toikef. What are you getting? It's very nice to get all worked up about it. It's not the ikar tefillah. The ikar tefillah is not a chves. The chazan all of a sudden, Machni Yisei Racham. Oh, that's the ikar tefillah. The ikar tefillah is Baruch Shamar, Ashrei, Yishtabach, Yotzar Avarei Choshech. The ikar tefillah is the ikar tefillah. Basically, the point he makes is, don't make the tafel into the ikar and the ikar into the tafel. Okay. That's not the point I wanted to make either. This is the point I wanted to make. Uvifrat b'yom noira kazeh, especially on such an awesome day. Titzarech losam nafshay b'chapay. You should put your soul in your palms. That means realize your life is on the line. Uvikavanas hatevos, have kavanah for the words, v'ha'oisiyos, and the letters, which means as follows. Make sure, the first thing you need to do before you have any gehoibina kavanas is you have to make sure you're reading the word correctly. You're pronouncing each letter and each nakuda. But here's the key, here's the clincher, ready? This is what the Noda B'Yehuda writes as well. Uvazeh malim hatfilos hapsulos shakal Hashanah. You could raise up all the thousands of tefillos that were said without kavanah throughout the year. through the Tefillos Hayom Naram, you could elevate them and bring them up to Shemaim. In other words, if let's say during the course of the year, maybe sometimes in the middle of Shemana Esrei, your mind wandered. It could be somebody told me that sometimes it could happen that your mind wanders in the middle of Shemana Esrei. So where is that tefillah? Where are the tefillahs where our mind wandered? One time it could happen, somebody had an emergency, pikuach nefashos, and they had to look at their phone in the middle of davening. Not over here in this shul, obviously, but it could happen. So what happens to that tefillah? The answer is nothing. It doesn't do anything. The tefillah doesn't work. It's inoperable. It's standing in Shamayim, but it's like, in no man's zone. It's in like neutral territory, and it doesn't go up. So says Chaim Falagi, by davening the tefillas hayom naram b'kavana, it could be maleh all the tefillos of the whole year, all the psulim tefillos, all the balei mumen tefillos. Rabbi Ruderman said this in the name of the Noda as well. And I once heard from Rabbi Obem, and I think I saw it inside, I could not find it now. The Gemara says in Brachos, Imroya Adam Shenispalel V'loy Niskabla. If the person sees that he davened and it didn't work, he should daven again, right? Shenemar Kaveh el Hashem, Chazak v'yamet zibecha v'kaveh el Hashem. Kaveh el Hashem. You tried once, Chazak v'yamet zibecha v'kaveh el Hashem. So Pashup Shan the Gemara is, if I daven the Shachris and I saw that it didn't work, so I have no alternative other than I'll have to try again. So I think the Chacham Hashanah learns, if I daven Shachris and I saw Shachris was not Niskabel, how could I get Shachris to be Niskabel? If I daven Mincha with Kavana, the Mincha with Kavana could schlep up the Shachris. Similar to the idea of the Noda B'Yehuda. The Noda B'Yehuda and Chaim Falagi is saying that it's a special kayach of the Yom Naram Tefillah. However, the chiddush of the Chachmas Menach is you could really do it any time. That if you daven without kavana, if you daven later with kavana, the tefillah b'kavana could schlep up the tefillah b'li kavana. Let's just end off. We mentioned this by Shal Shudas, but it's a very Yisaidistic idea, and that is the main text of the Shemana Esrei. Kamad every parak begins with the word uvechein. Uvechein, Yisnasa, Uvechein, Tein Pachtecha. Why Uvechein, Uvechein, Uvechein? The Avudraham writes, where in Tanakh do we have the word Uvechein? Megillas Esther. When Esther is about to stand before Achashverosh, she says, Uvechein avay el HaMelech. So in order to conjure up the image that we're about to stand before the Melech Malchei HaMelechim, so therefore the Chazal instituted before every parak to put in the word Uvechein, to realize, to have that picture in front of you, that you're about to be Oimed Lefnei HaMelech. But in the Siddur Hagra, he's Moisef one Nukuda, and that is, it wasn't just that Esther was Oimed B'fnei HaMelech. We know when it says HaMelech in the Megillah, Ein HaMelech Ela, Melech Malchei HaMelechim. And Esther prepared to stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What did she do? She fasted 3 days. But even though she fasted 3 days, she still felt, Uvechein avay el HaMelech asher lo chadas. She felt she was not worthy. And if you're not worthy and you stand before the king, the danger is, V'chasher avadati avadati. It's a tenuous situation. It's a very tenuous situation. So in order to engender that feeling, that when we stand Shemona Esrei Yom Naram, we're Oimed Lefnei HaMelech. But we're not just Oimed Lefnei HaMelech. We're Asher Lo Chadas. Are we worthy? Are we Roi? Do we have enough merit to stand before HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Or should we feel Pachad Pechadim, that if we're not Zoiche, Chas V'Shalom, the repercussions are V'chasher avadati avadati. So in order to engender that type of feeling, Chazal instituted the word Uvechein. So Shitaka B'Zoiche, that even if we don't have a chance now to go to Uman in the next 6 hours, but nevertheless, the more we prepare for the tefillos, the more we'll reap the benefits and the peiros. We should all be zoicha that the Rebbeinu Shem should give us siyata d'shmaya to daven properly, and Rebbeinu Shem should be mekabel our tefillos for a year. V'yimali Hashem kol mishal sein l'tova. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.